You're listening to Razorcast, USA's hottest podcast, bringing you cutting-edge interviews from leading industry professionals.
Hello, everyone. This is Liz Harvey coming to you from our Razorcast studios in New York City, where we are dedicated to bringing you cutting-edge interviews from many of the leading industry professionals across the U.S. In today's episode, we are speaking with Stephanie Heintzeler. Stephanie is a German-educated midwife, a U.S.-educated doula, an acupuncturist, and she is a certified lactation counselor. She is known as the New York doula. Stephanie has delivered over 1,200 babies and has experience with twins, triplets, breech babies, and water births. She also works with newborn parents in their postpartum stage and holds classes and seminars for moms and dads-to-be. With a wealth of experience and knowledge in her field, Stephanie Heintzeler is widely considered to be one of the top doulas in the country. She is also a contributing member of our national network of industry professionals. Today we're going to talk about a very important topic, mindset for birth. Hello, Stephanie. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Well, thanks for being here with us. So, how does finding the right mindset for birth make a difference in labor and delivery?
It makes a very, very big difference. Basically, what happens is that many women who are pregnant and looking at their labor and birth, they become a little negative or even passive. Sometimes they might even say, I'm going with the flow, when in fact it's not going to be their flow, right? So once you're in a hospital, it's going to be the hospital's flow. And then you end up with all these things that maybe you didn't want to have and to have done to you. And I work a lot with couples in my classes and in private about the mindset, which means you don't run a marathon with a negative mindset, right? You don't buy a car without doing your research. You don't book a vacation without doing your research. You plan, you look into it. But I notice oftentimes when it's about the hospital and the birth, people just don't do that. They just go with any OB and just maybe someone who got recommended, but they don't ask questions. They don't look into options and the hospital, like what's the C-section rate, what's the epidural rate, whether they want it or not, if that's something I like or I don't. So there's not research done. And then I constantly hear those sentences like, I really hope I don't get a C-section. I don't want this. I don't want my baby to be separated from me. And all I hear is I don't, right? And that's what we often end up with. We end up with stuff that we really weren't planning on, and we didn't want it. And it doesn't really work that way for labor and birth. Just shifting around the sentence by saying what you do want, right? What do I want for my labor and birth? This is your body. Your body is, your baby is in there. Your body will contract. Your body will go to labor. And if you tell yourself, I can do this, my body is designed for this, this is what I want, these are my options, I would like delayed cord clamping, something that gives a benefit to the baby. I would like to be in another position than reclined. I want to be on my hands and knees because it does help bring the baby out better and we have less tearing, for example. So there's all these things that you can actually choose, but you need to find a doctor or midwife who actually does that with you. You need to find a hospital that doesn't go, overboard with a protocol, but a baby-friendly hospital, for example. Baby-friendly means that you have a hospital that is focusing on mom and baby, so mom and baby won't get separated, and breastfeeding is really supported. So you want to have a positive view when looking at labor and birth, like you would do for anything. You're going into an exam in the marathon, and you tell yourself, I'm going to do this, and I'm preparing, and that's what I really focus on with my clients.
Okay. And at what stage of the pregnancy do you start working with pregnant women?
Most of the time, about 6 months in advance. Doulas charge a flat fee, so it really makes sense to hire someone early because there's so much benefit during pregnancy. You just chat with her, you can call with updates, you have, of course, questions about your pregnancy. Then you go further, looking into a birth plan. What do I want for my birth? Do I want a childbirth class? And we lower anxiety, right? The goal is really to have a great connection, to get to know each other, maybe get to know the backup doula so you feel you have a wonderful team around you. And you'll be relaxed when looking at your birth because you know who's going to be with you. And therefore, the earlier the better. Right now, we have September. I already have April clients. And that's beautiful. It's really lovely to stay in touch that long, to get to know each other and create a wonderful relationship.
And do you help women decide on the type of birth they will have and develop a plan or birth preferences?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's something that some mothers don't know about in the beginning, right? There's many who even say, I want an epidural, I want no pain, but then they hear about all these side effects that an epidural can have. Lowers contractions, and we need more medication to pick up contractions. You have to have a catheter with an epidural. And suddenly they say, well, I really don't want one, but then we need to look at what else can we do? What other options are there, breathing techniques? And we practice those in order to really try to have a natural birth. Or the mom says, you know what, no, I really, really would like to have a medicated birth. I don't want to feel that much if possible. And then we look into other things, like how do we move around with an epidural? How do we stay at home until it's time to have an epidural? Because you still can't go have it when you have contractions every 10 minutes. And you still really need a few tools in order to go over the first few hours of labor until you can have an epidural. And that's the idea. So it's a process that can take up to the actually due date, right? That the mother suddenly says, oh, I want this or I want that. But that's the idea, that we float with that. There's ups and downs and just pros and cons in anything. And you might take a child birth class, you hear more. You have a friend who delivered at home and suddenly that comes up. So we'll just go with whatever comes up and see what makes sense and resonates with the couple. And at the same time, sometimes you deviate away from your actual plan. And then we need to see how would you feel about that. Would that be terrible for you? Would that be good? Or is there anything we can do about that? Do you still feel you were in control? So there's an emotional and psychological input about that as well.
And what other type of education do you provide to help clients prepare for birth?
A lot of lots and lots of Q&A, basically. So for me, I send a lot of links. I have in my package, for example, I have a whole set of birth links and little videos and information about certain things. Like if your doctor tells you your baby is too big, please click this link. Or your baby's breech, please click here. So it's more if something comes up. Of course, they can ask me, but then they also know there's maybe some CDC statement or American Association of Obstetrics statement. So they can really see statistics and studies and recommendations. Then there's a preggy guide that I send out, a guide that I wrote, 50 pages, just like very, very good guide, a full pregnancy with information and topics about birth and pregnancy, breathing techniques, a recipe booklet for after the birth, so parents have something super simple and easy to prepare after birth. We send out web links with little videos about breastfeeding, how to prepare, and then mainly, of course, preparation for the birth. So many don't know that going to a chiropractor can help tremendously to have a baby in a good position, so your labor actually goes easier. If you go see an acupuncturist during labor, not during labor, before labor, the last 4 weeks, you can also soften your cervix, you have a very strong uterus, and it also shortens labor. So I really recommend, depending on what the mom wants and how the pregnancy is going, I recommend to see a few therapists, physical therapists like chiropractor, acupuncture, massage people, because if you're strong and relaxed and your body feels good, you will have a much better birth experience than if you were like tired and weak and you felt like, oh my God, I've been having back pain and I couldn't sleep, the last 2 months. You really don't want to go in labor like that. You want to feel fit and relaxed. And it makes sense sometimes to spend that extra money and see those extra people and talk with your doula and stay in touch to really alleviate anything that's like in the way. And then you go in labor and you feel fit. There's a wonderful page I also use called Spinning Babies. And it also gives you a few suggestions about how you can position your baby beautifully, for example, when you have a breech baby. And generally, I do like to talk to my clients about movement, exercise, yoga, because from my experience, it's really helping to have a good breath experience. So you used your body beforehand, you used your breath, you were in uncomfortable positions maybe in a yoga class, and you just got used to using your breath and your body. And once you're in labor, you can use all these tools.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and how do you help the other family members prepare for birth as well?
That's important. It's one thing is looking at the mother, but the dad, the partner, is having a baby too. There might be other children. There might be even dogs, right? The dog needs to prepare. So if we have a dog, we take, a little cloth blanket and we put it in the baby's crib after the birth and take it home so the dog can smell that new smell a little bit. So it's little things like that, but mainly the partner. There's amazing books we can use. We also want to check, is the partner very involved? Is that a partner who wants to be super hands-on and very part of the whole birth? But then, of course, there's partners who say, you know what, we want to do so I'm not in the picture too much. I'm worried. I can't see blood. I really don't know how I deal with this new situation, so I want to have someone who supports me as well so I can leave the room here and there and get questions answered. And that's the idea, that we build a good relationship and partners know that they can be in and out of the room whenever they want. I've had a dad a few months ago, and the mom was laboring, and she did her thing, and the dad texted me maybe every 30 minutes while we were both in the room. And he texted me and asked me questions, like, is this normal? What else can we do? Now she's doing this. What does that mean? And he didn't want to ask me that in front of her because she was busy, and we both helped her. But he always texted, and then he kind of winked at me, so I checked my phone, and then I texted him back and just gave a few ideas on how this is all normal and going well. And that helped him so much because at any point he was able to ask a question, and he didn't have to involve his partner. Partner moms are busy. They don't want to deal with any kind of questions and worries of their partners. They are busy and in labor. And so it's really beautiful to have this teamwork. And that's the thing, I bond tremendously with partners during labor because we sit there at 3 o'clock in the morning and, we haven't slept in 20 hours and we're both hands-on and really into this whole vibe of birth. And that's really amazing. But you want to be prepared and really know what's normal, what's not, and how you can help. So empowering the partner as much as they want to, that's very important and the key of the preparation.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. We know you're extremely busy, so I just want to thank you for your time and your help today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And for our listeners across the country, if you are interested in speaking with Stephanie Heintzeler, you can either go online to www.thenewyorkdoula.com or call 917-399-2031 to schedule an appointment. And on behalf of our entire team at Razorcast, we want to thank you for listening, and we look forward to bringing you more top-quality content from our country's leading industry professionals.
You've been listening to Razorcast, USA's hottest podcast, bringing you cutting-edge interviews from leading industry professionals.